The other day I was live streaming, leveling my new blader, when the weirdest thing happened. I suddenly lagged mid-dungeon and was forced to log out. However, upon logging back on, I noticed that the channel I was previously using, channel 8, wasn't there anymore. This was the first time I ever saw this happen, so I was pretty much stunned. Was the channel ever there? Had I just been imagining channel 8 all this time? Contemplating this took me long enough for the channel to get back online, making me instantly re-log into it. When it finally loaded back though, I was back in the bloody ice settlement, instead of outside the dungeon where I should have been. Aside from this, I noticed that the XP I got was gone and the owls I used to buy my entry were also back. This was when I realized that Cabal must have reset every character on Channel 8 10 minutes before the DC. So all our XP, ALs, and drops gained in the past 10 minutes were just gone now. Well, boohoo, right? So I wasted 10 minutes. I previously wasted whole afternoons watching Instagram Reels before, so I didn't really care that much. Except for the fact that the time they reset to was so unlucky for me. The whole reason I was even leveling my blader that night was because they were giving out free event Yule's accessories and costumes for everyone in the server as we were celebrating the release of the Dragonium and Celestia update in Cabal PH. But when I logged back on, my inventory was completely wiped from these event accessories and costumes. I quickly checked the event inventory and sure enough, they weren't there anymore. This meant that Cabal had reset my character to the few seconds, and now I'm talking about seconds, where I had just received the event items but were not wearing them. Had Cabal just chosen a minute after I equipped the items to reset that, I would have zero problems. I was so sad and angry at my misfortune. I then realized that this was only a game and I had far more better things to do with my evening. But right after that realization, I also realized that this has presented me an opportunity to finally go through the Cabal support system. Now I have never played on NA, EU, or any other Cabal server. But I cannot imagine that you guys also have to go through PlayPark to submit a support ticket. I think this because PlayPark is a company based in Thailand. This makes it extremely hard for me. Not because I'm racist or something, but because most of the text on its website is in Thai script. And I doubt that the few English phrases they put were accurate enough in their translation. For example, upon choosing Cabal PH, the website then told me to select my flow. This troubled me greatly. I was notoriously the worst at freestyling in my friend group back in high school. Scrolling down a bit though, I realized that it meant that I had to choose what kind of problem I had. None of these options really fit what my problem was, but ultimately I settled for bug inquiry. But before I chose to submit it, I first had to Google if it was actually spelled enquiry with an E instead of an I for inquiry. This led me to a Microsoft answer which I had never known was a thing. Even though I had learned something incredibly interesting that day, I still wasn't satisfied and chose to submit my flow. I was then bombarded with just a wall of text that took me 3 whole scrolls to get to the end. Most of these boxes being required information. One of the first ones required me to put in my phone number. And it's like, yeah, sure, PlayPark, I'm totally gonna give you guys my personal number instead of this random Jollibee number I found online. After asking for my personal details, the next part then asked me the last time I logged in and out of my account to the minute. How could they ever expect people to know this information? Do they think players just diligently look at the clock whenever they have to log in and out of games? I just couldn't imagine this could serve any real purpose in regards to bug reporting. Funnily enough though, I did know the exact time because I happened to be streaming everything and could just look back at the VOD to see. After inputting the time using a fucking drop-down menu, I then saw this description box. It wasn't technically required, but I felt I had to fill it as at this point, I actually haven't said anything about the bug itself, only useless information surrounding it. This particular bug was the first box to have a format that I should put my answers, which was pretty good. I obviously want nothing more than to be as clear and necessary necessary in describing my bug so I could get help in fixing it. Unfortunately though, the format wasn't clear nor necessary. It first asked me to put in a summary, which I took as a summary of the paragraph that I had just typed in literally right above this box. Next, they asked me the steps to reproduce the bug, which was impossible for me because I couldn't reset channels on my own or anything. But then they also asked for the result and expected result from attempting to reproduce the bug, as if I was back in the science class or something. The last bullet was for additional information, optional. This was also very weird as I was under the impression that the box itself was optional. I ended up just putting a summary of what had happened and then a link to the YouTube stream showing all of my claims. After confirming, I was sent the standard bug report ID to my email. In this initial email, it stated that I should wait within 3 business days for a response. Reading this, I thought, oh well, I'm fucked. They're never answering my ass. Especially since I only wanted temporary event items and not actual real items. I doubted that they would do fuck all to help me. To my surprise though, they sent me an actual email about 12 hours later. This initial email was kinda annoying because they just asked for information I already put in the initial website, like the bug details and the time when the bug happened. They also asked me for a video showing the error that I received. This made me realize that if I wasn't just randomly streaming, there was absolutely no hope in getting any items back. More importantly though, they asked me the character and items that were affected. I immediately answered this email, saying that I lost my event use accessories and force swing costume. Then linked the timestamp stream showing when the bug happened. Then, about 3 hours later, they sent me this email, which basically told me that they had sent my items back to the character. When I read this, I immediately logged on to my Spicy Buto to see that I was sent mail by the system containing the used accessories and my force wing costume. Only problem being, they only sent me one each of Yule's bracelet and earring. Aside from this, I was also missing the Dragonium suit costume, which looked extremely cool. It was only at this point that I realized that in my reply to the initial email, I only put in used accessories and force wing costume. This meant that Playpark didn't actually have some system that looked into what my character had at the time that I reported it. Instead, they just read my email and decided to immediately give back the items I had specified. I tried replying back to the email, but it was probably too late as the person handling my case gave no shits anymore. Overall, it was a pretty unique support system experience that I thought was very funny. Next time I should just be extremely specific, I guess.